assessment or survey. So if you need a pen, get a pen. And we will get started. So I have the privilege of wrapping this all up. This is our last class on the identity series. How many have enjoyed the series? Better yet, how many learned something? How many's learned something in this series? Yes, that's even better. And then the next question is, how many's put it to practice? So working on it. That's right. That's the right answer. We are taking the things that we learned and we are working on it. And I just need my Bible. So, we're ending this identity series. Hopefully by now you have learned who you are, right? And that's who God says you are. And hopefully by now you have really taken that in, and like Hannah spoke about last Wednesday, you've taken what you know and how you feel, and you're working on getting those to be connected. And so I hope everybody's working on that. That will show tremendous growth in you and your walk. If you're working on resolving knowing who you are, even when you don't feel like it. So we started off with Selena's class, and she opened it up, and she talked about a lot of the ways that we do make identities for ourselves. Okay, she talked about we identify by our past, by our environment, out of necessity, out of convenience. She talked about all those things, and then she talked about how to proactively establish our identity. And it was to fight to touch Jesus regularly, to dig up your grave, to bury your fears, and to build godly boundaries. And so, and then she went to Micah 6 and 8, and we have to do justly, love mercy, walk humbly. We've got to stay in covenant, and we've got to feed his sheep. And then the next week we went on to redemption, and that was kind of the first step, was realizing that we have all been redeemed. And he talked from Psalms 139:14 and talked about how we're fearfully and wonderfully made. And then he went on to talk about how Satan tries to use ways to destroy us. He gave us the definition of identity, the fact of being who or what a person or thing is. And then he talked about how we have to learn to forgive ourselves. And a lot of times that's where we get stuck. We can forgive others, but we can't get past what we did ourselves. And sometimes it's we even knew we were doing wrong, and it's hard to get over those things when we make those bad choices. And then he talked about, he gave us some scriptures, 1 Peter 4 and 8, that love covers a multitude of sins. And we talked about the difference between conviction and condemnation, and that you are not your failures. Your identity is that you are redeemed. And then Haley came to us with her topic of Enter Me, My Enemy, and talked about the battle of what goes on inside of us. Questions like, what if I don't make it? What if I fail? Realize who we are even when we mess up. That our mess ups are not who we are. And that we grow by spending time with God. And then she gave us the story about Ehud and how God used his weakness back then. Being left-handed was a sign of weakness, and God used that to deliver his people. So she told us that story, and also talked about the fig tree not being in season, and I thought that was a really, really good point that when we come into the presence of the Almighty, we should bloom. Doesn't matter if it's our season or not. That when we are in His presence, we should be blooming, we should be bearing fruit, and that we must have faith. And then Seth Gleason talked about I am who God says I am, and narrowed it all down to that it was about having a relationship with Him. Our identity is basically comes and stems from that relationship that we have with God, and that everything we do is for what? His glory. That's right. Y'all remembered. Good. Because that's what we're going to be talking sort of about tonight. About doing. And then Hannah came in last week and talked about an identity crisis. How we can't connect what we're feeling with what we know. We can read the scriptures and God says you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and He tells us all these things, but what we feel like that's not how we feel. And so she did an excellent job giving us three things that would keep us from walking in our identity. Distraction was one of them. Failure was the other one. What was the last one? Heartbreak. And those were excellent. And then she talked about Luke 14:8, where He gave us the authority to do all of those things that it talks about. And that we have to get to the place where we rely on God and on what we know and not what we feel. And that is so true. So true. Tonight, we're wrapping it up. Now you know who you are, hopefully. And we are going to talk about spiritual gifts. Anybody know? Anybody want to start calling out spiritual gifts? Anybody know what they are? Gifts of the Spirit. That when you get actually when you were created, God already assigned gifts to you. Did you know that you do not have to pray for spiritual gifts? Did y'all know that? You do not have to pray for a spiritual gift. He already assigned one or many more, I don't know how many, to us. Those are assigned to us when He created us. He built inside of us when we are connected with His Spirit, what our gifts would be. What we need to be praying is, Lord, help me to use those. Help me to become aware of what my gifts are, and then give me the boldness and the strength to use them. So, let's go to 1 Corinthians 12. And I'm going to start in verse 4. And we're going to read down several verses. Now there are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are differences of administrations, but the same Lord. And there are diversities of operations, but it is the same God which worketh in all. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another gifts, plural, of healing by the same Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another divers kinds of tongues, and to another interpretation of tongues. And then he goes on, this is the whole chapter about we're the body, okay? If you've been around here long enough, we have talked about that a good bit. And then let's go down to verse 28. And he says, and God hath set some in the church, first apostles, secondarily prophets, thirdly teachers, after that miracles, the gifts of healings, helps, governments, diversity of tongues. And I'm going to finish on out. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Have all the gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But covet earnestly the best gifts, and yet show I unto you a more excellent way. And so what he's saying there is not everybody has everything. right? We're not trying to go around and have all of the gifts of the Spirit. But he did assign us gifts of the Spirit to every person. And so let's move over to Romans 12. It repeats some of the same just in different wording. There were 12:6 through 8, Romans 12:6 through 8, and I'm hurrying through this because we are going to figure out what our gifts are tonight if we don't already know. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith, or ministry, let us wait on our ministering, or he that teacheth on teaching, or he that exhorteth on exhortation, he that giveth, let him do it with simplicity, he that ruleth with diligence, he that showeth mercy with cheerfulness. And then our last one, we're going to go over to Ephesians 4 and 11. That was Romans 12:6 through 8. You're welcome. No, I don't want to do that. Yes, we're going to go to Ephesians 4:11. And he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers. And this says, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. 4:11. 4:11. And so, as Pastor Seth told us in his, everything that we do should all be for God's glory. And so tonight, Aslan, if you will start passing out that stack right there. I did not staple these because you're going to have to go back through them at the end and get your score. So they're not stapled, so you should be able to maneuver through them fairly easily. While he's doing that, you should have learned already that every one of us has a spiritual gift. And so 1 Corinthians 12 is where if you want to get more understanding about all that he was talking about there, you can read that whole chapter, study that whole chapter. So once everybody gets one of these. All right, you will be choosing a number 1 through 5, with 5 being your it's highly characteristic of you, it's definitely true for you, and 1 being not at all. But it has it on the first page there. It has 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it tells you there. So if you are struggling with answering something, you have that to go back and look at. You're going to be selecting one response that you feel best characterizes yourself. And then you're going to put that number on the blank, okay? And we're not spending a lot of time. This should be what comes natural about yourself. Do not overthink it. Don't be going, well, if I was in this situation, I'd do this, but if I was in this. Yes. Please answer every one of them. Don't ask your neighbor. They're not you. So some are concrete actions. It says some items reflect concrete actions. Others are descriptive traits. And others are statements of belief. Okay? Now, there's no wrong answers. But if you do not answer this truthfully, you aren't going to get you're not going to get the gifts that are true for you, okay? So there's no wrong answers, but you definitely need to answer as truthfully as possible. Number 1, I have the ability to organize ideas, resources, time, and people effectively. If you're an organizer, You would be putting a 5, 4 maybe. If you are not, you're going to be down on the bottom. I am willing to study and prepare for the task of teaching. Oh, Lord, what number should I put on that? I am able to relate the truths of God to specific situations. Also, I wanted to say, if you have done this before, some of you have, because I've done it before here. But if you haven't, are you going to compare? If you haven't done it, if you have already done it, I'd love for you to compare. We go through seasons, and we grow, hopefully. So your answers may change some. So it's okay to do this, every few years or so. I have a God-given ability to help others grow in their faith. I possess a special ability to communicate the truth of salvation. A special ability to communicate the truth of salvation. Number 6, I have the ability to make critical decisions when necessary. Number 7, I am sensitive to the hurts of people. Number 8, I experience joy in meeting needs through sharing possessions. Number 9, I enjoy studying. Number 10, I have delivered God's message of warning and judgment. Number 11, I'm able to sense the true motivation of persons and movements. Number 12, I have a special ability to trust God in difficult situations. Number 13, I have a strong desire to contribute to the establishment of new churches. Number 14, I take action to meet physical and practical needs rather than merely talking about or planning to help. I take action to meet physical and practical needs rather than merely talking about or planning to help. So you like to actually get in there and do it. Some people like to plan it. Number 15, I enjoy entertaining guests in my home. Do I answer for me or Seth? I'm just kidding. Okay. Number 16, I can adapt my guidance to fit the maturity of those working with me. So the way to put that is you're able to say things on one person's level and then maybe say it a different way for somebody else that may be at a different level. 17, I can delegate and assign meaningful work. Thank you, Brother Warren. And we do know each other in here, most of us pretty good, so some of these we can answer for each other. 18, I have an ability and a desire to teach. $19, I am usually able to analyze a situation correctly. 20, I have a natural tendency to encourage others. I can think of several in the room in here that do that. 21, I'm willing to take the initiative in helping other Christians grow in their faith. I'm willing to take the initiative in helping other Christians to grow in their faith. 22, I have an acute awareness of the emotions of other people, such as loneliness, pain, fear, and anger. 23, I'm a cheerful giver. Also, you're not going to be showing this to anybody, so you are going to be asked if you would love to share, but you do not. Ain't nobody coming around to check your answers. You get to grade it yourself. 24, I spend time digging into facts. Oh, Lord. That's why I get down rabbit holes. Like last 2 Sundays ago. Okay, I feel that I have a message from God to deliver to others. Come on, preachers. Number 26, I can recognize when a person is genuine and honest. 27, I am a person of vision, a clear mental portrait of a preferable future given by God. I am able to communicate vision in such a way that others commit to making the vision a reality. I'm 28. I'm willing to yield to God's will rather than question and waver. 29. I'd like to be more active in getting the gospel to people in other lands. 30. It makes me happy to do things for people in need. 31. I am successful in getting a group to do its work joyfully. 32. I'm able to make strangers feel at ease. 33. I have the ability to plan learning approaches. 34. I can identify those who need encouragement. 35. I have trained Christians to be more obedient disciples of Christ. 36. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to see others come to Christ. 37. I'm attracted to people who are hurting. 38. I'm a generous giver. 39. I'm able to discover new truths. 40. I have spiritual insights from Scripture concerning issues and people that compel me to speak out. 41. I can sense when a person is acting in accord with God's will. 42. I can trust in God even when things look dark. 43. I can determine where God wants a group to go and help it get there. 44. I have a strong desire to take the gospel to places where it has never been heard. Bless those that do. Thank you, Jesus. I enjoy reaching out to new people in my church and community. I am sensitive to the needs of people. I have been able to make effective and efficient plans for accomplishing the goals of a group. All right. I am often consulted when fellow Christians are struggling to make difficult decisions. I think about how I can comfort and encourage others in my congregation. I'm able to give spiritual direction to others. I'm able to present the gospel to lost persons in such a way that they accept the Lord and His salvation. And that's what we all working on, discipleship right there. I possess an unusual capacity to understand the feelings of those in distress. I have a strong sense of stewardship based on the recognition that God owns all things. I have delivered to other persons messages that have come directly from God. I can sense when a person is acting under God's leadership. I try to be in God's will continually and be available for His use. I feel I should take the gospel to people who have different beliefs from me. I have an acute awareness of the physical needs of others. I am skilled in setting forth positive and precise steps of action. I like to meet visitors at church and make them feel welcome. I explain Scripture in such a way that others understand it. I can usually see spiritual solutions to problems. I welcome opportunities to help people who need comfort, consolation, encouragement, and counseling. I feel at ease in sharing Christ with non-believers. I can influence others to perform to their highest God-given potential. I recognize the signs of stress and distress in others. I desire to give generously and unpretentiously to worthwhile projects and ministries. I can organize facts into meaningful relationships. I can organize facts into meaningful relationships. God gives me messages to deliver to His people. I'm able to sense whether people are being honest when they tell of their religious experiences. I enjoy presenting the gospel to persons of other cultures and backgrounds. I enjoy doing little things to help people. I can give a clear, uncomplicated presentation. I've been able to apply biblical truth to the specific needs of my church. God has used me to encourage others to live Christ-like lives. I have sensed the need to help other people become more effective in their ministries. Just 4 more. Is everybody okay? Your brain's smoking? I like to talk about Jesus to those who do not know Him. I have the ability to make strangers feel comfortable in my home. I have a wide range of study resources and know how to secure information. I wasn't in the microphone. I feel assured that a situation will change for the glory of God even when the situation seems impossible. All right. Give y'all a few minutes to, if you needed to go back and read some. Now, everybody needs one of these. Yeah, I'll put some on this side. Y'all can just take one and pass it down. Oh, we're good. 7:32. Okay, so for adding it up, it tells you exactly what to do. Go to number 6, write your number there, then go to number 16, write your number there, then go to 27, then 43, then 65. Then you would add all those up, okay, across. And you do that for each section, and the highest totals over down the total column will be the one that you would score, the highest in. So you've got leadership, administration, teaching, knowledge, wisdom, prophecy, discernment, exhortation, shepherding, faith, evangelism, apostleship, service helps, mercy, giving, and hospitality. Okay? So, I'll just give y'all some time to do that. Some of y'all can, I'm sure, do that a lot quicker than me, so I'll just give y'all a few minutes to go through and write your numbers in.